The views and opinions expressed on this station do not reflect the owners, management, staff, clients, or partners. Medical House presents Bermuda's most viewed and listened to talk show. The Daily Hour starts now.
It's Friday, the 16th day of October. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House and Lindo's. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with Carla Zul. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. You know what to do. Share the link, start a watch party, get the conversation out there to your network, because this conversation is for every Bermudian. If they've ever been an employer, employee, sought a job, this conversation today, we're discussing jobs for Bermudians, whether or not you believe we should have first preference to jobs when we apply over non-Bermudians. The Daily Play is that new game. We played last week. Where is it? So Carla is guessing where somewhere in Bermuda is. She didn't do too well last week, but I have faith. I have faith that she will get this week's answer. Right, Carla?
I don't frequent opulent places. I told you.
Okay, that's the excuse. Well, I think you'll get this. I mean, Bermuda's only so big. You've been to a few places. You've been to a few places.
Okay. Thanks for having faith in me.
No, absolutely. Well, somebody has to, somebody. You came back from the gym this morning and someone says to me, "Oh, so did you show anyone up?" So nobody showed up today. Nobody showed up today, Carla.
They're scared of pump.
Yeah. Nobody showed up. It's like New Year's, right? Everybody shows up first day, first week in the gym, and then where do they go? So yeah, had the gym all to myself this morning. So little sore, but I'm moving. I can lift my arms up. Yep.
I was gonna ask you.
Yep, little sore. But yeah, quite a morning enjoying it to myself. I almost took my headphones out and just start listening to music loud. That's how good it was having it all to myself.
Really? I'm actually surprised that you guys are open, because with Florida, with all the rates and stuff, I thought for sure that GMs would have been shut.
Well, let me say this much. In our place where we live, they took the basketball hoops off the basketball court back in March. So they still aren't out there. I mean, having a gym open is quite an accomplishment from where we are. By the way, speaking of Florida, I mean, it looks like you all in the UK are heading backward as well, no?
It's a big mess, in my opinion. I just think that it's a delicate balance. They're trying to make everyone happy between those who want to work and those who are fearing for them, for their health. So it was supposed to be we're moving into tier 3. So they did this tiered system. Tier 3 means lockdown, back to where you can't leave the house except for to go to the grocery store, blah blah. Now they're saying they're giving it one more week. And if the rates are continuing to spike up in the north, I'm in Manchester, that will go back into lockdown. But people are getting really frustrated, especially self-employed. So they're just trying to make everybody happy. And I don't think there are any winners. They're going to have to take a firm decision, whichever way, and stick by it.
The thing about trying to make everybody happy, in the end, you make nobody happy, no matter what you do. And let's quote Dr. Brown recently, even if the majority support you, that could be in 51%. That means 49% don't. So you're never going to make everyone happy, folks. Well, let's hope people use well, I can't say common sense, because that's not even a good thing anymore. The common people are just, well, growing class of stupidity.
But you know what's become a term, Mal? Mask shaming. So people that don't wear masks, and as you know, there are some exemptions if some people may have asthma or mental health, anxiety, etc. But now people are starting to mask shame. So people have to put up signs that say just because someone doesn't have a mask doesn't give you the right to harass them. So it's bringing out all this other stuff too.
The times we're living in 2020, mask shaming. Interesting. There's a title for everything. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a protected class soon, and I'm not joking. Everything's becoming a protected class. Carla, so Jodeci or Boys to Men?
Forever, my lady. I am Jodeci. Boys to Men used to make me cry because I remember the first time I really actualized death, and they played the song. What is it?
How do I say?
Yeah.
See yesterday.
And so I've always affiliated them with mellow vibes and sadness, although they're a beautiful group.
And you put Jodeci with sex, right? Let's just say it.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay. Yeah. So you got the mellow and you got the freaky.
Yeah, and Jodeci is it. You know. Where's Keisha? I hope she's watching. Forever, my lady. I can't remember the rest, but yeah.
All right. So we had I just asked on Facebook yesterday because I didn't realize so many people liked Jodeci like that, and I just know growing up, Boys to Men was it. This of course was after New Edition, and I mean, folks were like, Boys to Men, why are you even talking about Jodeci? I'm like, trust me, I've come across a lot of Jodeci fans recently, like people that are diehard, like they were the best. That New Jack Swing, they made it like they were the first to really show that gangster R&B, New Jack Swing vibe. And I was just like, I appreciate them, but Boys to Men were it, man.
Mr. Dalvin and Devontae. Come on, ladies. If you're in my age group, you know you wanted to marry Mr. Dalvin or Devontae.
I'll say this much. As Neil Williams says, Jodeci goosebumps every time he has baby making music. But Boys to Men are still it, Terry says. But I'll say this. Luther Vandross once said about his music. He says, there's a difference between making music about love and love making music. And I make music about love. And I think with Boys to Men, it was music about love, whereas Jodeci, you could say it was love making music. And I just appreciate both. I love the fact that we can look back and still play these hits, man. I mean,
but you know what's freaking me out now? And I was talking to my friend Yanika about this morning. These groups, for example, these men are now 50s, like some of them are approaching 50, and depending on which groups, like for example, you just mentioned New Edition, their next decade is 60. Yeah. It's like, hold on, wait a minute, hold on. We were like 25 or 18 the other day. How did this happen? So it's weird how we're becoming a part of history. Like we'll be throwback people in a few years.
No, what some of us are there. Some of us are there. Don't forget, we're discussing today. We're going to be talking about Bermudian jobs. Whether Bermudians should get first preference for job opportunities in Bermuda. I know people want me to talk about that lady Isley at the BTA. I will give a short opinion because I don't want to give that lady any of our time that she doesn't deserve, or more time than she deserves. But let me just say, and I'll reiterate it when I do discuss her, this is when that job became available back in April. I saw it and I sent it to people and I said, hopefully she applies and hopefully she leaves Bermuda. I'll just leave.
Really?
Oh yeah, I actually pulled up a text between someone and me yesterday from back when April 6th. And I said, God, I hope this woman applies for this job and leaves. She was bad news for Bermuda. Ask the hotel, ask the staff. When I say bad news for Bermuda, bad news for Bermuda. She can run on about what she accomplished, but let's speak about what you didn't accomplish. Right.
I don't have an opinion on it, but I just want to clarify this because I was reading an article this morning about her moving on. Why do people think that people cannot work in Bermuda but not be in Bermuda? Because they were talking about her salary, and someone said she didn't live in Bermuda, and they were like, yeah, she did. The article said in Bermuda, and she did not. She lived in the States. So I just wanted to clear that
Well,
part up.
it's interesting because I did see some of the comments under the story last night when someone told me, look at him. And no, she was based in New York. And in my opinion, when there's absolutely no business for a person like that that's not delivering exceptional results. When you go back, and I have them all pulled up, but we're not going to go there. Like I said, I don't want to give it that much time. But when you compare the results with what happened in the early 2000s, are you going to tell me the directors of tourism and the premier at the time and the tourism ministers at the time deserve that same salaries? It's so easy to criticize. But what people are, look, put your politics aside. What that organization did with her and the Hembury and Dallas guy was nothing exceptional or much different from what the Department of Tourism done. Nothing. Nothing. And for Bermudian taxpayers to be paying that amount of money to this lady for delivering pretty much the same that was delivered, if not less for the majority of the time, because take out those 2 good years, and then there needs to be further analysis. How much money was paid by tourism to bring people in during the America's Cup? I can count a few I bought. How much money was paid to bring up the amount of fam trips that were hit? Whereas when you pay for people to come Bermuda so that they can actually sell it, there are questions that need to be asked. Now, I'm going to give credit where it's due. Huge amount of credit for driving us forward with social media, because we had it, but it was not something that was focused on before this lady came. But as far as $300 something tax-paying dollars for delivering what you did, Bermudians deserve better. And so my hope is that whatever Bermuda tourism looks like going forward, they will make the right decisions. No nepotism. We have got to get rid of that, because this lady was nepotism. Bill Hamberry was put in that position and brought her along. Not because she knew about Bermuda, not because she was probably a good marketing person, not because she was a great leader. It was nepotism. So we have to find the right people for the right positions for the people of Bermuda to benefit. And no, I am not putting my head in that ring. I know where I belong, and it's with all of you every single morning, every last one of you. But on a real, any Bermudian that has a problem with the salary that is paid to anyone in a position like that, I agree with you. I agree with you. But what I will say to you is, if a Bermudian, especially a Black Bermudian, is hired to replace this lady, do not go at them about that salary. They deserve that same salary, but we must hold them more accountable than this lady was held, to make sure that they're delivering results. And we will get into the conversation about Bermudian jobs in a few. Let me answer this. Is it Evelyn or Evelyn? Says, in the context of this discussion, by Bermudian, are you referring to only status, born, or PR? Well, I'll discuss that. I love to clarify. So once we get into the conversation, I will definitely clarify. I will clarify a lot, because there are some people that are using the term qualified. Notice, we did not use qualified. We said Bermudian versus non-Bermudian. Sherry J used to always say on her show, like, why do we only mention qualified when it comes to Bermudians? Why does that word only come up when it comes to Bermudians? In my opinion, Bermudians have some of the most educated, qualified, hardworking people that haven't been given opportunities to succeed. Believe that. Let no one, of course, there's bad apples. Of course, there's bad apples. But if people are not given the opportunity to succeed, then how will we ever know? I will say this much, and I'm not going to reveal the name, but there's only one Bermudian qualified to lead Bermuda's tourism organization. And I just hope that the Bermuda government makes the right decision in bringing that person home. Carla's got some news to read, doesn't she? Let's go to the news, and then we'll be back with that conversation. So make sure you share the link, because we're going to get there about Bermudian jobs, whether or not Bermudians deserve preferential treatment when it comes to all jobs in Bermuda.
A 19-year-old man has been arrested in connection with the murder of 31-year-old Garina Can. The suspect remains in custody at this time. Miss Can was shot to death at her residence on Sunset Pass in Pembroke during the early hours of September 29th. Detective Sergeant Jason Smith, the lead investigator in this matter, said a lot of the credit for this arrest goes to the members of the public who answered our calls for assistance to bring the perpetrators of this heinous crime to justice. The detective sergeant added, however, we firmly believe there were other individuals involved in the commission of this crime, and the investigation remains open at this time. As such, we wish to renew our calls for anyone with information on 3 motorcycles that were in the area of Sunset Pass from about midnight to 2:20 a.m. on Tuesday, September 29th, to please get in contact with us, as we strongly suspect these individuals were directly involved in Miss Can's murder. This year's AXA end-to-end fundraiser will take to the streets later this month after a 5-month postponement caused by the coronavirus pandemic. But unlike past years, the October 24th event will not have an official start or end time or location in an effort to combat COVID-19. Participants can start anywhere along the route that is convenient, and water stops will be placed across the island. And Mello, chairwoman of the AXA end-to-end board, said, in spite of the changes, the community spirit and energy that surrounds the event will still be present, and we urge everyone to come out and join the fun and help raise much-needed funds for our selected Bermuda charities. In working with the Ministry of National Security, she says, and obtaining their advice, we have tailored this event this year to ensure it can proceed without the need for an exemption. To the public, she says, if you are taking part, I would urge you not to congregate in large groups, practice physical social distancing, and wear masks, all of which are part of COVID-19 regulations. Jamal, you said you have a Mac, right? Do you have an iPad?
No, I don't, Carla.
Apple Watch?
No, I don't, Carla.
Okay. Well, are you one of the thousands of people like me who enjoy the light, trouble-free life of owning a Mac? Then you owe it all to one amazing man by the name of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs Day was established by the governor of California in memorial to this great innovator who passed from the world in October 2011. If you've ever used an Apple product, Steve Jobs Day may be the excuse you need to stop at an Apple store and drink the Apple Kool-Aid. After all, he's done so much for the world and helped to change and shape the world of computing. If nothing else, you can stop in and pay your respects. Turning to weather, Bermuda's high today is expected to be 81. It will be 86 in Las Vegas and 54 in Manchester, UK. Medical House is your #1 source of PPE supplies, masks, face shields, disinfectants, sanitizer, gloves, gowns, no-touch thermometers, and so much more at the cheapest prices. Visit Medical House today at 22 Millridge Lane in Pembroke. Get your weekend started with Juggling Jason and the Office Workout on the Full 100 Radio from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Atlantic time this and every Friday. That's your Daily Hour news break.
All righty. Don't forget also on Sunday, Larry Marshall Jr. with Pure Sports Radio on the Full 100 Radio channels. He'll have Nikita Robinson, the coach for the latest national football teams, as well as brilliant young footballer Leilani, I believe.
Leilani Nesbeth.
Leilani Nesbitt. She's at Florida State University. So make sure you check out Larry Marshall Jr. on Sunday evening at, I believe, 8:30 p.m. Bermuda time. So you don't want to miss that good conversation with two great people in that sport. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back with the Daily Focus conversation. We're focusing on Bermudian jobs, opportunities, qualifications, and what is a Bermudian?
Good day, Medical House, Doris speaking. Can I help you?
Medical House is Bermuda's leading one-stop shop for healthcare. Medical House is a great resource for Leroy. The service is excellent.
Medical House is best known for its uniforms and footwear. It has hundreds of styles of scrubs and nurses' uniforms for health professionals. Bermuda's top doctors, dentists, care homes, and the hospital choose Medical House for a wide range of products. These same professional quality products are available to you for home health care.
The biggest reason to come see us is that we specialize in these areas and the education and knowledge that we provide.
Medical House is on Millreach Lane in Pembroke, where there's private parking right outside the door. Call or visit Medical House today.
This month, we're featuring Evian Natural Spring Water, brought to us by John Barrett & Son. Evian water is among the best-known bottled mineral waters on the market and was one of the first, originating at sources on the south shore of Lake Geneva almost 2 centuries ago. It's good to know also that Evian has instituted extensive water management projects on 3 continents, working as the Evian Water Protection Institute to help address one of the world's major ongoing issues: access to safe, abundant water for all. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
All right, welcome back to the big show. Carla Zoom, myself, Jamel Hartman. It is the Daily Hour. Thanks again to Medical House Lindo's, Channel 82, Crimson Multimedia over there. Shout out if you don't have internet access, you know someone who doesn't, you can let them know that we are available on Channel 82 on Bermuda's cable station, brought to you by One Communications. Carla, before we go further, let me just say, I see a comment from your candidate, Dr. Maria Seaman. So, hey, Dr. Seaman, we'd love to have you on sometime. Give us a shout. Give us a shout. Carla was your biggest cheerleader in the election, by the way. She is about to have a victory party, but I told her it wasn't going to happen, Carla. That said, let's get to the serious part of today's conversation. There's a lot of talk, right? A lot of chat about Bermudians and jobs, especially when it comes to recessions, and the pandemic has led to jobs being lost, right? And I want to go back to a lady who commented on the post yesterday, who said she mentioned qualifications, right? And it's important to let me address this first. And I want to definitely it's all about the audience, so we want to get your take on this. But I want to address her comment. And her comment basically says, if they are qualified, of course, right? Now, again, as I said before, it literally says, should Bermudians be offered employment opportunities over non-Bermudians? I didn't mention qualified Bermudians or qualified non-Bermudians. It's equal. Can we all get to that point where we're saying if we're talking equal? Right? Cool. So now that that's established, I must be upfront and honest with you. I have been an immigrant in another country more than I have been a local in my country as an employee or working age. I have gotten opportunities that maybe some of my peers in the US did not get. So I have benefited from being is it called non-American? Yeah, right. I got a great start in my career at Radio Disney before moving on to a country radio station, and then back to Bermuda I went, and then tourism, and then here. And so I just want to put that out front before anyone Googles and says, well, you've benefited, blah, blah, blah. But I think Bermuda has a different challenge. And here's the challenge with Bermuda that I see. In the US, I've noticed that a lot of people who get job opportunities, people like to say, oh, well, no one wants to do those jobs. It's the lower end jobs, right? In Bermuda, it's on both sides, right? As you can see, there's this woman who's leaving Bermuda tourism who's making 300 something thousand. But then you have it on the lower scale where workers are coming in and getting paid very low amounts that Bermudians refuse to work for. So Bermuda has challenges on both ends of it, right? Either you're not qualified enough to do the top job, or you value yourself too much to do the lower job. You see those challenges there? So I really want to get feedback from the audience as to the what do you feel are the challenges we need to overcome to get Bermudians into these positions, because I have worked, for some of the best Bermudians, and you guys hear me say it all the time. Glenn Blakeney, Scott Pierman, and Elroy Smith. It was a pleasure to work for those Bermudian men. A pleasure, regardless of how people feel about politics or what's happened. It was a pleasure. And one of them warned me that no other company would probably give you the opportunities that we've given you right out of college. And they were right. They were right. And so I say this because I'm going to add this last piece before I let you all jump in. I'm a believer in having the best people working with me or for me. But what I won't buy into is that the best people are not one of me. I won't buy into that. Carla, you nodding your head. What you got?
Because I'm a person who believes in giving someone an opportunity. And I'll tell you a quick story. When I was 18 and I wanted to work, and someone said, there are some housekeeping jobs up at Elbow Beach. And I ran up there, and I didn't want to do it, but I wanted to work. And there was a lady by the name of Karen Dill. And she means a lot to me to this day, because she said to me, listen, sweetie, there's a cashier's job, and I think you should take the test for it. She looked at my resume, which Jenny had said I graduated from high school. I think I was fresh at Bermuda College. She said, I want you to take this test. And if you do well, I think you should do the cashier's job. And after 8 years there and going back every year for my break during university, I finished as an assistant manager in their establishment. And I don't think that would have happened had she not given me an opportunity. So when you say about the qualifications, I don't necessarily believe in that. I think some things you have to have a certain qualification. However, I think that we as Bermudians need to learn to give others coming, whether it's lateral or behind us, an opportunity.
You know what? Let me touch on qualifications before we get to some comments. You know what qualifications can mean, right? It's like, okay, you need a bachelor's degree, you need 5 years experience, and then they add this piece. You also need to know how to work the Carla Zool database. Now, hold up. The only company that uses the Carla Zool database is that company. So how are you going to have the experience to use that Carla base? So they know who they're doing it for. They know who they have that job lined up for. So that's the qualifications part. Really, look, I've seen it done. If you over time. I remember I just used to read job applications, and I'm like, not applications, adverts, and I'm like, this is not, unless someone's worked for this company, they're not going to have experience with this database. They're not going to be able to say yes, they can tick this box, right? But then go back and see how many boxes a person like Kevin Dallas ticked when it came to being employed as the CEO. Go back and see how many boxes a person like Victoria Isley ticks. Go back and see how many boxes other people ticked in other industries who are not Bermudian, right? Did they have the qualifications as per se? And I'm telling you, Bermudians have not gotten a fair shot. Let's go to some comments. Teresa Stewart says, Bermudians need to shift their mindsets as it relates to being qualified. For my current role, my dream job, I wasn't technically qualified, but I applied anyway. I knew that if I didn't shoot my shot, I would never get the job. Oh, I agree. You got, we have to put ourselves out there. Definitely have to put ourselves out there. Big Mun Smith says, having a post-high school education does not necessarily make one qualified. You may be certified. I throw all of that in the trash. Throw all of that in the trash. Qualifications, like I just said, are pretty much down to what a person or company wants. They're going to do it to match the person who they want. It has nothing to do with even a high school diploma. It has nothing to do with your certifications when that company truly wants who they want. Bermudians don't have many Bermudians, I'm going to say, don't have that that luxury. Teresa Stewart says, I too have spent more years in the US as an employee than I have in Bermuda as an adult. I worked part-time jobs in my youth, but for the convo, I'll speak to jobs where I'm responsible for myself. Nikisha Cameron says, refuse to work or can't afford to. Case in point, people refuse to do those jobs because they can't afford to do those jobs. So I think it goes hand in hand, Nikisha. I thank you for making me clarify. Mr. Talbot says, I couldn't find work as a youth. I didn't have the look. I was on the verge of doing negative things until a Portuguese man gave me a job. Nachiko Trot says, why are Bermudians often told they need international experience, but for guest workers who come to Bermuda with the only experience being in their own country, i.e. Canada? Aha.
But see, that taps into one of my big pet peeves is that in my experience working in Bermuda is that some Bermudians only think you're good if you come from outside of Bermuda. It's like you're not good enough unless you come into Bermuda. And it drives me crazy. It's like, why can't I know we're a small island, but that doesn't make Teresa talk about IT, her any more savvier as an IT person than Joe Blow from Mexico, but yeah, people would think because it's imported, it's better. It drives me insane.
No, I get the point. I think I've heard that. I've even repeated it. Get experience outside of Bermuda. You hear it all the time. I do encourage people, especially college students. I'm not sure if it's still the same, but with OPT in the US, get some experience using OPT in the US before you go back to Bermuda.
But that's not what I mean, though, Mal. That's not what I mean.
No, let me finish. I tell people to get that experience using OPT, right? Once you do go that route, you can say, okay, cool, you got something to build on. I know plenty of Bermudians who have used OPT who have grown, and I don't want to call any names, but there's a certain Bermudian in North Carolina who now has a marketing company and is building clients in Bermuda. She's been on out there. She started with OPT, now she's on a work visa. She's been out there for 7-8 years. No. Does her experience being there make her better than someone who's in Bermuda that's been building? That's where I'm a bit iffy, because it's almost like it's this us against them within us, and it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. I don't think that my experience necessarily in the US makes me any more qualified to do a job in Bermuda than someone who in Bermuda who's done it. But what I will say, I have learned a lot from my experiences here, and I have gotten opportunities that I obviously couldn't get in Bermuda, that I believe I can bring certain aspects to Bermuda. But I believe my honest work comes down to one thing, and I want to say this before we go back to comments. It's my mentality and my work ethic. That right there is just simple. I guess that comes from my parents both being hustlers and entrepreneurs in their own right, and what I've been surrounded by, having uncles that had their own businesses. But that self-determination is, to me, gives more than that. No, saying all that, let's say a job came available in Bermuda and I said, well, let me apply for this. Am I confident that I would get a top CEO position, let's say in media? I'm not. I really am not. And that's why I believe in creating what we're creating so that we don't have to put ourselves in those positions. It's tough. Mark Phillips says, we have a serious problem here in Bermuda. Far too many managers are willing to give a job to an expat rather than a Bermudian. I've had and there are people who watch this show. For some reason, some people think I know a lot of people. I really don't. And I've been contacted by HR managers about people asking me, oh, do you know this person? Da, da, da. Well, the reason I'm asking is because I really want to give the job to a Bermudian, but the company are focused on bringing in a non-Bermudian. I've been in those conversations very recently, folks. And I'm not talking about a non-Bermudian who's married to a Bermudian. I'm not talking to a non-Bermudian who's already in Bermuda. I'm talking about bringing in someone during this time for a position like sales. Nikki Michelle says, nothing we love more than a foreign opinion on local issues. Don't we know it?
Happy birthday, Nikki. Happy
happy
birthday today.
to you, Nikki. Happy birthday. Tamara Richardson writes, quite an emotive topic. Of course, Bermudian deserves the job. It really does depend on the sector. Who do you want, doing your brain surgery? The Bermudian or the best surgeon? Well, let's touch on the best person. So, because I did mention just now that when it comes to me, I want the best possible people working with me. But when I say best possible people, I'm not talking about school or experience. I'm talking about people who fit the culture of the company, people who fit the culture of what we're trying to accomplish, people that understand our strategy and goals. Like, to me, it's so much more to it when we say that. So now, in terms of the best person for the job, I remember a guy saying that to me, a white Bermudian in tourism, we were at that conference, and I've told the story on the show before. It says, well, don't we just want the best person for the job? And I said, traditionally, what has the best person for the job looked like? Right? When it comes, and further to your example, we do want the best brain surgeon. We do want the best medical practitioners. However, let's say a top job for a brain surgeon comes available in Bermuda. Let's say it becomes available. Do we do enough to find out if there's any Bermudians overseas doing this somewhere? Do we do enough research to find out if there's Bermudian nurses that we can bring home? I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. Quentin Stubble says it is a pervasive colonial mentality mindset. It will not, what's that word?
Benignly.
Yeah, don't do words like that. You disappear. You all strong with you. He must have been Barclay or Work Academy. Frederica Evans. I was overlooked for a job because I never worked outside of Bermuda, although I was extremely qualified. But define qualified. What does qualified mean, folks? That we have to have that conversation. We have to have that conversation. What does qualified mean? Because I will not sit here and tell you I'm qualified for even what I'm doing right now. I won't.
But I just think it's the whole mindset of thinking. It has to shift in thinking that if it's not Bermuda bred, like Frederica, for example, who may not have been away to university, I know she has a very good job, right? We tend to think that if they are not outside of Bermuda, they're not good enough. So we I've heard people say, I'm not hiring any Bermudians, and these are Bermudians. Or you go into a Bermudian establishment and you don't see Bermudians. What message does that say? And I mean, people have to still look at their bottom lines. I get that, respect that. But are we not turning up our noses? Even in these small opportunities I've had to employ people, I've only hired Bermudians. I've only hired Black Bermudians. Because I'm like, somebody's got to give somebody a shot here. Even when I felt in some cases, I never got one. But I don't want to perpetuate that.
The late Papa Rogers said to me when I returned to Bermuda in 2007 and began working at in Thailand Communications. And Papa Rogers says to me, he said, man, I was beginning to think they thought Bermudians couldn't read. Every time I turn the news on, it's a non-Bermudian. And I don't think he meant ill against non-Bermudians. He was just like, and at that time you had Sangeeta Aya, you had Gary Moreno, it was just, a lot of people. And I think they wanted to feel, it goes back to what we said about the young man yesterday, Tashel Bean. It's like when you start to see people who are like you in certain places, people start to believe, okay, we can do it as well. And this is I love both of those people I just mentioned, but it really hit me because I had actually, and Teresa mentions OPT and people did explain optical practical training. I actually got some, great opportunities. And my former boss from Radio Disney does tune in sometimes. She does comment on this show. Still a great relationship. But I took the opportunities that came for me and it worked out for me, right? In that respect. It worked out for me with 3 Black Bermudian business owners. It hasn't worked out with me with white ownership in Bermuda. It hasn't. I'm just going to say what it is. I've learned a lot from, and I've shared stories from those 3 business owners, and they told me stuff that it's playing out every day in Bermuda to this day, 13 years later. Lendria Carla.
That's because it's the path of least resistance. Foreigners coming to Bermuda would accept the jobs Bermudian won't do with little pay and be grateful just to have a job. But I think, Landry, it's also because their money may go further. Like you have some expats who may come in and work for a restaurant business, for example, but 6 of them may live in the house and sleep in shifts because Bermudians can't do that.
Well,
And
let me take it a step further with what she's saying, though. You can use Bermudians in the New York tourism office. A lot of them are they're tied to their work visas. It was a horrible place to work, but the reason many of them never left these places is because their work visas were tied to that job in that city. So with a lot of these guys in Bermuda, people in Bermuda that may be foreigners, they may be unhappy. They may like get treated like crap, but they know that they can't just go find another job in Bermuda because they're tied by whatever their work status is to that one job. It's a lot to it.
And the money goes 10 times further in a different country than it does in Bermuda.
Mostly the case, yeah. That's the truck, Carla.
Most time, imported workers do not have the experience. They are good on paper. However, doing the job is another thing.
Mm-hmm. Summer Richardson says too many businesses, the key roles that determine the health and trajectory of the company feel like brain surgery to them. Your resume won't tell me you can do my brain surgery. Your proven record of successful surgeons will, though. So let's work on telling our experience. I agree. I like totally agree with this. And I always say, like, you know, the resume is to kind of get you the interview, but you have to tell the story of the success. And I go back to years of experience. Like a lot of people would say, you know, we have these years of working in the bank. Well, what did you do in the bank at that time to help the bank increase revenue or improve or become the best bank? We want to know what you did to make it a more successful place. So the experience and qualifications, it comes down to what you were successful at, not just how many years you were at a place or what degree you had. That was something that we've been sold a bad dream on. I'm sorry, we have. Nancy Talbot Hooks, Carla.
I agree. Most jobs are earmarked for people they have chosen already. In spite of your experiences, you go through the interview stage as a formality, not because you're going to be considered for the job.
Mm-hmm. OPT, sorry, I didn't explain. Larry Rogers has optical practical training. So basically, to explain OPT, thank you again, Teresa and Uncle Larry. It's basically you're given either 12 months to work. I actually got OPT for 2 years. So I was one of the lucky few. So pretty much gives you, I think if you have an IT or engineering degree, you can actually get it for the longest period though. But yeah.
I didn't do mine, and I wish that I did. I graduated with my bachelor's in 98, but I was so happy. I just wanted to get back home to my granny. And I look back and I'm like, I wish I would have done it because I think it would have opened up more avenues for me professionally. But, you know, you live and you learn.
Not to take away from what you just said, but Carla, you graduated college in 1998?
I graduated. That's the year you were born in, I know. No. I graduated, with my undergrad in journalism in 1998. And I find out if I have my master's in PR. Whoop, whoop.
Well, I'm sure you do, but the reason I say that is you graduated with your bachelor's when I graduated from high school. I didn't realize we graduated the same year. All right, cool. Okay, you're not that old. I mean,
but all jokes aside, because I mean, currently I'm in Manchester, but one day I plan on returning to Bermuda. And that was another driving point, excuse me, for why I did my master's in PR. So that although I have all these years experience and I feel I have a proven track record, no one will be able to say that I'm not qualified. That was the other reason why I did it.
There's a lot of comments I want you to get through because I think someone speaks on that right here. Wow, I'm so sorry. We're going to try to get through as many as possible. This one here, Carla, go ahead.
What does the best person for the job mean? If you need to go to St. George's, bus, bike, Toyota, BMW, ferry, they all get me there.
Well,
I see her point.
That's a good question. And I think the best person for the job is who's the best person that can get you there safely in a timely manner and, you know, to the spot that you need to be. It's so many things that come to it. As was asked earlier about brain surgery, who has a successful track record? Are you going to take the person who has 100% of doing it right and the person lives free of injury, or are you going to trust the person who has a 70% record of survival? So it does track records do matter, folks. It really does. I'm going to try to go through as many comments. We're going to read some, not respond to all. Carla, the affirmative.
I think it's the responsibility of employers to provide opportunities for Bermudians to experience, international platforms. Example, conferences, visit international companies to provide them with exposure. But you can find many talented Bermudians that can be molded into leaders in their field.
Sonia Clark writes, Jamal, you normally call it straight. Yes, I'm hearing Bermudians, but to be specific today, it's an opportunity to call it the business owners and HR personnel. It's worse when the HR personnel is a Bermudian, but the influence opportunities. I think she's saying they influence opportunities for Bermudians. Magic Soldier says Colonialism 101. All great things come from foreign. Interesting. Janet Maynard says giving a non-Bermudian a job over Bermudian did not start yesterday. This has been going on for years. Seeing it happen, and the Bermudian was white. Well, hey, it's been happening for years, but we can fix it today. Amanda Kelly says many times in Bermuda being qualified means non-black. Bingo. There was an instance where I was required to train a woman who knew nothing to my supervisor, and she was a foreigner. Let me just say this here, right? I want to just respond to what Carla said and some of the comments that are coming through. There are people, when my record at the Bermuda Tourism Authority was made public, and they were like, oh, you should apply for this job, or you should apply for that. And even people saying, oh, you should apply for the CEO or chief sales and marketing officer, whatever. No, I'm not. I won't. And the reason I won't is because I don't believe, I believe in my abilities and myself for what I am passionate about, and how I believe my work ethic best serves whatever opportunities are before me. And so I don't believe I would be the best person for either of those jobs. I don't. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, because I had quite the success in tourism and sales, that I'm going to be the best person for a director of sales job. I would have to look at what the company plans are, the organization, regardless of what it was, to see if, number one, if I fit the culture. Number two, if I am the best person based on their strategy to get this done. I cannot sit here and say that I'm qualified for anything. And I think that's where we go wrong sometimes. For this right here, what we're doing, I think there's probably people that are more, Teo Dill, if he wanted to do it, is miles ahead of me with this. But does that mean I'm bad at it? No, it doesn't mean I'm bad at it. But I understand from working, just from having a short career, that qualifications, work ethic, track record of success, it has to fit certain things. I truly believe there are enough Bermudians to fill these jobs. That doesn't mean that I or anyone else that we know is the person. And we have to look at it from that perspective when looking at jobs that are being filled. So with this job that came open, someone mentioned it in the Bermuda Tourism Authority. Yeah, I believe there's Bermudians that can do that. And it will be a travesty under this Progressive Labour Party government if a Bermudian does not get that job. There's no reason Bermudians should not be running their tourism product, especially when non-Bermudians have come in there and pretty much brain drained Bermudians on information about Bermuda to make it work. Quentin Stovall says, what does the best look like? We need to question, analyze, dismantle what currently is. So shouldn't best include a holistic respect and thorough understanding of the culture, thereby ensuring the best possible outcome? I agree. And that goes back to my experience with the gentleman a couple years ago when he said, why not just the best person for the job? Traditionally, what has the best person for the job looked like? Again, we all want what's best, but best, we should delve a little deeper. Liz Simmons says, sometimes our politicians even have supported this mentality by turning a blind eye, even when they know about it. Sometimes. You're being generous there. Sometimes. Carla, we have Teresa Stewart.
You can see yourself in those roles when you see people like yourself in those top positions.
Yeah. Teresa also says, taking top positions out of it, seeing a Black Bermudian creative making their own comic series will inspire. Absolutely. Absolutely. Sonia Clark says, employers do not have training and development programs in place and are not willing to expose us to job learning, job mentoring. Well, thank you for saying this. And I have to say this. I'm going to use the police commissioner, Stephen Corbishley, because he has been upfront from time he started about ensuring that Bermudians are trained to take this position when he leaves. When Victoria Isley and Bill Hembury started in Bermuda tourism, why was there not a plan in place, like what Corbish is doing, to ensure that Bermudians could progress into that position? Look at the Bermuda hospitals. When Mrs. Simons just retired, they have a plan either to get Scott Pierman in there over the years, to place him there. Where are these plans? So thank you for that, Sonia. Bobby's saying, Carla.
This issue also impacts the construction industry. My Bermudian husband has had his own company since the early 90s. His small number of staff are all Bermudian. He would rather train a Bermudian than hire non-Bermudians. However, there are several projects going on in Bermuda where foreign construction workers are brought in. That is a slap in the face to not only my husband, but many Bermudians in the industry. And see, I know her husband's self-employed, but I think I hope that employers who are listening, that this conversation will hopefully help them to have a insightful rethink on how they look at Bermudians, regardless of what color they are, because it seems to me that it starts with them of they're not good enough because they're Bermudian or they're a Black Bermudian. Employers need to take a step back.
Yeah, indeed. Mr. Tolbert says many are uncomfortable with Bermudians in high positions because of familiarity. When someone many are familiar with gets success, they are ridiculed by things they did in high school, etc. Yeah, that's how I was in the regiment. A foreigner has no local past. This is not bias discrimination. Yeah. Landria States says exactly. Look at foreign police officers in Bermuda. They hired foreigners to fill those positions because of the lack of response from Bermudians. Kathy Bromby says, I looked at Tamal's work on All Politics and Marge's Facebook pages yesterday, and who's Tamal? Oh, Tashal gets 2 likes, says it all. We need to support our people. I think she's talking about Tashal Bean. Lamone Wood says, is this capitalism at work? What is the cost benefits of hiring overseas? Are businesses doing this because they can? Is this a policy issue or law? Are the businesses responsible for this, or the government? Do businesses have a right to hire who they want? I think businesses should have a right to hire who they want within law. There's a decent questions that hopefully we have reached out to people, and hopefully they'll come on the show to discuss. Tamara Richardson says, we should ask ourselves, is this unique to Bermuda, though? Walk into Chinese businesses in LA, Indian businesses in London, Jewish-owned businesses in New York, and who works there? We can keep beating this drum, but until we own businesses with the capacity to hire, not solopreneurs, we will be here in a decade talking about the same thing. I want to touch on that because I don't think enough of us understand the difference between self-employed and being a business owner. I don't think people understand the difference between that. And where she mentioned solopreneurs, but also we need to touch on the fact, the other thing she's mentioning that, and I'll use the example that happens in the US. If you look in the US, a lot you see, as mentioned, different people, even Black people, maybe from Jamaica or Nigeria, they come and they start their own businesses, right? And then it's harder to find Black-owned American businesses like on the same level. Is a Bermudian more likely to have success as an entrepreneur outside of Bermuda than in Bermuda? And if that is the case, then there are challenges and things we need to address beyond what we're discussing. And I think that's her point. I think. Lisa James, Ice, folks, try to keep the comments a bit shorter so that you don't take away our pretty faces. I've been back. I think it's I've been back for 13 months and I only get a job as a middle school sub for a private school in February 2020. I also landed a job in a restaurant as a waitress, but lost both due to COVID-19. In UK, I was special needs teacher assistant. Upon interviewing for the waitress job, the manager said I should be working for government as my degree and experience was focused around the youth. I asked him what degree he had, and he said a BA. So I asked him why wasn't he working for them, and that's it. So we cannot see the rest of the comment. Isabella Hall, love that comment. Brain drain Bermudians. Yes, it happens. Trust me, it definitely happens. Look, we're running out of time. But look, this is as someone mentioned earlier, a very emotive topic. It's emotive, but I think one of the things I want to share with people, and I don't like to give advice, but I really hope people take away from this. We have to put ourselves in positions where we control our own destiny. Let me give you an example I said to a good friend about Bermuda politics recently. 2 weeks ago, yesterday, we had an election in Bermuda, and it was a low voter turnout. And from that low voter turnout, it seems, not facts, but it seems like a lot of the supporters, the normal supporters of the OBA UBP, did not vote. And I said to someone, maybe they finally realized we don't need politics. We own the businesses. We don't need the government. The government needs us. So I want people to really think about these kinds of things. I want people to really understand how we can control, or how controlling and owning our own destiny influences the decisions that happen for and around us. It takes more than what we believe is qualified that's written in a job description. It takes much more than us believing that we're qualified to do certain jobs. It really takes us owning industry. And until we get to a place where we own industry, these challenges, we're going to be talking about this for another 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. We have to own industry. And that's going to happen. And I think someone mentioned it. When we start liking and support. The young man yesterday, Tashal Bean, said, the best thing you can do for me is support my work by just watching it, hitting the views. We have to support one another. Now, that said, please don't reach out to me and say, oh, I'm selling shirts. Can you buy one? It's about finding a niche, a need, and fulfilling that need. And once you can fill that need that your people that you're trying to approach have, then you may have a business opportunity that's long. On that note, Carla, you're trying to get away from today's thing, aren't you? Today it's where is it? Carla's going to need your help for this one, folks. All right.
She needs your help every Friday.
Your help. Here's today's daily play. It is a where is it? All right. Carla, here you go. Where is it? You got this, Carla.
Oh, Flats Inlet.
Folks, please help Carla guess where this is.
Oh, Fairylands? All the places, Fairylands? Hold on. I don't know. Oh, Don Hamilton Harbor somewhere, dude. I don't know.
You're very close.
Down by like where Fidelity is, down that way, right?
Nope.
Oh, just off of Blue Waters Anglers? Like further up Front Street?
Nope. Help her out, folks. Nobody knows. No one said the right answer where this is yet.
Hold on, the waters, it depends on the picture. White's Island area, run that way, Jamal. Paget, where do rich people live? I'm from town, I don't know.
Here's the answer.
I said Fairylands. Oh, I was close.
Fairylands, you're close. I said you were close. That's actually that little inlet by Hamilton Princess. So you know where your parking lot is?
Okay.
That water right, so where Smet Cycles is, that's where that.
Got you. See, the Chi places. I'm from back of town. Show me a picture of the pond. I got it.
I mean, my background is dumb, right? Carla, any final words before we head out for the day?
Wait, the inspiration or my final word? Which one?
Sorry, inspirational thought. Yes.
I've seen enough things to know that if you just keep going, if you turn the corner, the sun will keep shining. Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you for that. Any final words?
Idea, but I can't remember. I'm getting new. But happy birthday again, Nikki, and have a great weekend, everybody. Let's continue to uplift and support each other.
She said, "Get new." Honestly, folks, I say it all the time, but thank you. And these conversations are for us, all of us. We need to continue. I don't want to just have these conversations to have them. We don't want to just have content. We want to ensure that these conversations solve our problems. I want to ensure that we're creating our own industry. And every last one of you are playing a part in helping what we're trying to do. Every last one of you. So we appreciate you. Seriously, we appreciate you. We thank you. I can't say enough. We love you and for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, We'll be back to do this again with you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Don't do anything crazy that I wouldn't do. And, well, don't do what Carla would do, because, she don't have no accurate weekends. Hey,
Hi, Daddy.
talk to you all later. Much love.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House. All recorded episodes and highlights can be found at thedailyhour.com. Stay connected with us by following us at The Daily Hour on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.